welcome to the 10th episode of Born in Trouble. I'm your host, John X, bringing you the best in mid-conversation on the internet. Yes. And joined once more by my illustrious guest, the City Wing King, Mr. Grant Lancaster.
What up, though?
What up, though?
How you feel, Bridget?
Oh, man, you know what it is. You know, it's been a few weeks since we did our last show. Some people, if you have me on Facebook, you know I ended up in the hospital again. Last week I did do a show, but I had a big turban around my neck because I had the surgery. You know, it's kind of nasty. It's a nasty. I got my keloid, whatever. So I got my story. If I was like 20, I'd be like, I fought them both forth.
Right.
Coming at me, there was like four of them. Pow, pow, pow. And all they gave me was this little scratch on my neck. Gangsta. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. But that's not how it really happened. What really happened is old age and good doctors.
Yeah.
You know, so
that shit is crazy, man. I was we had the funeral for my uncle this past weekend. So I was talking to my cousin and we was talking my uncle, his name was Edward. Uncle Ed, he was like the life of the party, like him and my other two uncles.
Okay.
James is so Edward James and Howard, but Edward is the oldest, so he was the ringleader. So me and my same age cousin Manasseh, or closer to my age, Manasseh, we would hang out with my uncles, you know, from time to time, you know, like on a special occasion, we might meet them somewhere, hit them up, you know, whatever. And we would be out with these cats, man. And we've been doing this for years, man. And we used to look at them when we was in our 20s and 30s. We used to look at these jokers like, man, these old cats is out here getting it.
Right.
And now we the old cats, bruh.
Wow.
Yeah, we the old cats now.
Well, you gotta say God bless to that. How old was he?
81, 82.
81, 82.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace, Uncle Ed.
Yeah, he lived a good life, man. It was a celebration for real.
That's
you know what I'm saying? I mean, there was some tears shed and all that, but you know, by and large, man, we just had a party. That's what my Uncle Ed was. Nickname was Sweet Eddie Sweet.
Sweet Eddie Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Playboy, you know, like all the elements of a old school player.
I'm an old school Detroit player.
Yes, sir.
I'm an old school Detroit player. Ring tips.
Yeah.
Ring tips and Cadillacs. You going back.
Yeah. Yeah, man. He always had like a fresh cougar. You know what I'm saying? Was always dipped. You know what I'm saying? Not too flashy, but just always smooth, man. That was him. So yeah, it was a great situation this past weekend.
That's what's up.
For what it was.
You know, as far as funerals go, it almost makes me wish I was there. You know.
Yeah. Oh man.
Bask in the glory, B. You know.
Listen. We had a blast, man. We did the funeral and the repast and all that kind of jazz. But then after the repast, you know, at the repast, we playing music, dancing, you know, eating food or whatever. And then we went to my uncle's house, my Uncle Howard's house after that, and it was just more of the same, playing cards, and dancing, and watching the games and everything, and just, you know, a big family get together, man.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I love that, man. That just reminds you of everything that it's all about. You know, this year for me, it's been a humbling year because I've been in the hospital twice. You know, first time completely unexpected, and now this time. And you start to think about things that you never really thought about before. I never thought about passing away and, what it would be like and everything. And, you hope that, I hope that people would celebrate me, in
Hmm.
that way too, you know. And, Brentwood lost another one this week and everything, that
Yeah.
was, Jamie. So,
Hmm.
um, just, yeah, it is what it is, man. We getting up to that age, and to see them, it's good. Like that you got to see you. He gave you an example of how you're supposed to be behaving right now.
Right. Right. And you know what? It's funny, man. It's funny that you say that because like and the whole thing, like thinking about your own mortality and all of that and how people will remember you. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I got such good friends, man. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like and we both do. You know what I mean? We got
yeah,
such good friends. You know what I'm saying? People that we've been with. I mean, I met you when I was 14.
yeah, yeah.
So I've been knowing you 40 years now, right?
Crazy.
And like it's I mean, we still rocking. You know what I'm saying? Me,
Yeah,
you, Brian, Gene, Rob, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like Tone Supreme, like the Howard crew. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like we still all rock. You know what I
It's like
mean?
when,
Like we
when we
don't,
s- when we see each other, we pick up like it never
yeah,
ended,
like
like it was
like
like
it never
Tuesday,
stopped.
like it
Yeah.
was Thursday to Tuesday.
Right.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It could be like a decade, but it's the same
man.
shit.
Yeah.
It's
So
beautiful.
we've been really fortunate, man. And my uncle's passing, man. Like just watching him, he had some health issues. So just kind of watching him deteriorate really kind of sucked. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't like Sweet Eddie Sweet was gone. He'd been gone for a couple years now. You know what I mean?
Right,
It was just my Uncle Elbert in the hospital
right.
or in the home. But just thinking back, man, and when they had the film the uh photos on the reel or whatever that were
Mhm.
flashing during the viewing and all that. And I mean, it was just great, man, looking at him and seeing him back in his element,
Mhm.
pictures of him in his element and everything. He was a
Mhm.
Kappa, him and two of his cousins went down to Fisk all together and kind of
Mhm.
took over Fisk back in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, right.
yeah. I mean, just wild boys, man.
That
So
that's that revolutionary time.
yeah,
Fisk
yeah,
in the
yeah,
'60s.
yeah.
A lot of the movement was jumped off
Hmm.
from Fisk University,
Yeah,
and that's some knowledge that's lost that people should look up and should learn
yeah,
about. You know, Especially with HBCUs being so prominent right now
yeah.
in
But
the news.
that's my whole deal. Even when I was in high school, my plan, I applied to three schools, Michigan, Michigan State, and Howard. And
Mhm.
once I got the acceptance from Howard, nothing else mattered.
That was it. That
Yeah,
was it.
nothing else mattered.
You
Because
know,
that's what my family is a HBCU family.
yeah. You see, you think about those times. Like I thought about that. I was talking about it the other day. I had a lot of schools that wanted me to come play basketball, Division 3, a couple of
Hmm.
Division 2, one Division 1. Um, but I only applied to three schools. I applied to Howard, Morgan, and Adelphi.
Hmm.
And I sometimes think about what I would have. I was laughing the other day. I said I'd probably be a Jewish attorney if I would have went to Adelphi.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I would have never left Long Island, and I just would have been like, yeah, you know, it's like I wouldn't be this guy. That's
Right.
for sure.
Right.
But it was the same thing. Once I got to Howard, it was like, we out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
So,
life trajectory, man, it's so dependent on everything that comes before it. You know what I mean? Like every step that you make is a result of previous steps that you've already made. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? And like for me, going to Howard, it was never a question. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like once I understood what Howard University meant and what going there in my mind, what going there was going to be, and it exceeded all of my expectations. It was a bonus. It was a bonus that you were going. I knew that Brian was going, but it was a bonus that you end up going too. And then once we made that connect and got the corner room, had the triple. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, yeah. I mean, it was a set off, man. Like and it just, like I said, man, we talk about Tone, Supreme, Selmo, you know what I mean? Like just all the cats, Darren, the Texas boys, the Chicago boys, you know what I mean? Like the Detroit boys. I mean, like all them dudes, man. Like when I think about Howard and how my life went, you know what I mean? Or how my life has gone since Howard, it's been a steady kind of upward trend, you know what I mean? Like, and it just so happens one of the greatest things that happened to me in my life was Craig calling me to do that work with him. And then even Howard's tentacles reached out even then because Puff was, at Bad Boy, you know? Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, that could be good and bad depending on how you're looking at it today.
Right.
There's a lot of things, a lot of words being said,
Yeah. And the internet, internet is relentless, bro.
Wow, relentless. They got him under the jail. It's like I've learned a couple of things from the internet. One is that the feds are omnipotent. Once they say you did it, you did it.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's apparently where everybody is resting on this whole thing. I don't see any crime that Hugh Hefner didn't commit, beforehand.
Right.
But no crime that Disney isn't doing, hasn't been doing for decades. Nickelodeon hasn't been. My whole thing is whenever I see these things, I'm like, all right, great. You know what I'm saying? To Catch a Predator. It's like watching To Catch a Predator. It's like, great, they got one. So now they know how to get the rest of them, right?
Yeah, but we don't want the rest of
them. But we know, but you see, you missed that. Let's do that again. So we got one. So now we know we're gonna go get the rest of them, right?
No, we don't want the rest of them. We just want this one.
Womp, womp.
Yeah, and it's funny, man. But this is America, right? So, and we know our history as Black people in this country, or ADOS or whatever African American, whatever term you use. We know our history in this country. It's not a just history, right? So for Puff to do what he did, allegedly, and to be in the position that he's in, Clive Davis. I don't know if you saw the clip with Clive Davis, but Clive Davis was like, who is Puffy?
I don't even remember who he is now.
Right, yeah. I don't know who that guy is. Right. Yeah. What?
What?
Yeah, like what? Yeah. So,
flashback. To me, it's like flashback, 1993. Craig Mack complains about having no money. Calls up the Good Squad, consisting of his manager, Alvin Tony, Alvin's assistant, Anton, myself, and I forget who was driving. We drive down to Arista Records to meet the one named Puffy outside, coming downstairs from a meeting with who?
Clive Davis.
Clive doesn't know him. Maybe he wasn't actually. Yeah. So maybe now I'm thinking maybe he didn't actually meet Clive Davis, and that was the only time I ever mentioning this. Everybody's got like Puff stories they're telling me. Like I'm looking on the internet and everybody's got oh, he's been a punk for years,
Right.
I dissed him this day and this and that. And everybody's got the stories. It's like it's the same thing as when Suge went down. You
Mm-hmm.
know, before Suge went down, you couldn't even say the name Suge
Right.
without all the air like leaving the room.
Mm-hmm.
If you started to say, shh, you know what I'm saying? The air started leaving rooms when he was like free. And then when he
Mm-hmm.
got arrested and everything was like, oh, and now everybody's got a story about it. So it's the same thing. It's like everybody's tough when the bully's behind bars. It's like the two dogs that they have barking behind the fence, and then they move the fence, and there's nothing in between the dogs, and the dogs just look at each other, and then they
Right.
move the fence back, and they start barking again. So it's like
Right.
everybody's got like a story to tell. But I actually saw that man humbled that day, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he was coming from seeing the guy that whatever and everything. It
Yeah.
is what it is. I mean, I think it's kind of sad, but it's like it's almost like inevitable, because the way I look at him, and this is no judgment, listen, you can have all the freaky consensual parties that you want. Lord knows on a Friday or Saturday night, if I was bored, I was trying to cobble anybody together to come over to the crib. Of course, they were all female, but that's another conversation. It's whatever floats your boat, though. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like,
Right.
if it's consensual and everything, let's be honest, like most of those people that everybody's running for the hills, they were there, they knew what the jump off is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what the jump off is. You go into a music industry party and you're trying to get signed, you're trying to get a record deal and everything. There's a very good chance that you're getting fucked that night.
Oh yeah.
It's not good. It's not bad. It's just a business.
Yeah.
And it's not just at Puffy's house. It's been that way since the like 1960s, the 50s, maybe even the 40s. I
I'm
just think it's.
I-
Go ahead.
so the Godfather was set in the 20s, 30s.
The original, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Remember the movie producer, right? When
Right,
when 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 he went to visit the movie producer and he was like, I got this young girl, blah blah blah. She's
right,
the best piece of ass I ever had.
right.
This motherfucker was 90.
He was 90.
And the girl that he was talking about was like 18.
No, she wasn't 18. She was like
Well,
14.
yeah,
He said that he groomed her since she was
right.
14.
He groomed her. Right,
So,
right,
in
right.
other words, she's been the best piece of ass that he's ever had since she was
Since
14
she was
years old.
14. Right, right.
Right? Okay.
So so there's
Context.
that's not a fact. That's not a
There's
fact.
context. There's
Right.
context.
But there's exactly. So
There's
it's been going
context for
on
these things
forever.
happening forever. So it's like this is what I'm saying. Like now they caught Puff and everything. Now we can get the rest of them, right? Right? We can get everybody else, right?
Well,
Huh?
I mean,
Huh? You know?
well,
Uh,
you so here's the question:
what's that?
is there gonna be, because I heard somebody mention this, that Puff was gonna get murdered because Puff knows names to name.
Yeah. I think it's a strong possibility. And I don't like to think, listen, I don't personally hold that man no ill will. I know a lot of people out there that are opining about these situations, they feel one way or the other. They feel like, some people say like the video with what happened with Cassie is enough for anything to happen to him for the rest of however long of a time he's supposed to be on this earth. But we're also all human, and people have redemption stories, and some of them are true and some of them aren't true. But it's not
Right.
up to us to judge. I think that where we go wrong as a society as it is right now is that we're all judge, jury, and executioner. This is why it's okay for we look at police officers who shoot people on the scenes. Not saying that they're all bad and they all do that, but like, we see police officers that make a decision to end a citizen's life right there on the spot. And automatically we've got half of the country saying it was okay to do, and the other half saying it's not okay to do. We have these split judgments, but it never gets to a courthouse. Never, we
Right.
don't do due process. We don't do due process even in normal life.
No. The court of public
So
opinion means a lot.
means everything. It means
Yeah.
everything.
And I'm just to piggyback off what you said, everybody that knows me knows Puff just ain't my kind of guy.
Right.
So he and I, we didn't see eye to eye on anything. Right. But I don't dislike him. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
he just wasn't my kind of guy. So I didn't really fuck with him like that.
Right.
So whatever he did it without me knowing.
Yeah.
And I don't, again, as a powerful man in America, there's going to be some Monica Lewinskys out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a Cassie,
Mm-hmm.
but Cassie, if Puff is not Puff,
Cassie's not with him.
Right.
Cassie's not with him. She's not. She dumped. So I was watching someone who made a very good point. Talking about Ryan Leslie. She dumped a perfectly good boyfriend who was a really talented, producer. To me, I think everything that you need to know is that, there's two things with Cassie. One of them is, where's the banging record from Cassie that you're remembering that you're thinking that you missed out on? Where's the catalog from Cassie that you think you missed out on as a fan, as a musician, that you couldn't do without, and everything? The second thing is, where are the plans for her to actually make another album or to come out and do something within the industry? If it was something, she was she found a niche. She was good where she was. Unfortunately, there's a lot of women that are in the game that unfortunately are sick enough to accept those roles.
So, but isn't that always the way? Right? Because there's always someone willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want. Right. So there's always an exploitable person.
Yeah. Now,
right?
listen. Before we go further with this down this rabbit hole, I have to let everybody know that this is not in any way, shape, or form meaning these people deserve it, or that we're just talking about the possibilities, and we're talking about human nature here. We're talking about people as we exist. We're not talking about widgets. We're talking about the way that people actually move and try to get things accomplished. And what my point in saying this before we go, I want everyone to understand that this is not you're not trying to victim shame anybody or anything. That's the words that that's the word that they would use. But basically what I've been trying to express to everyone when they ask me my opinion is that there really are no good people in these conversations that we're talking about. We're not talking about Mother Teresa types. We're not talking about people that are trying to save the world. They're trying to be famous.
Right.
And a lot of times they're willing to do anything that they want to do in order to become famous. Would you?
Absolutely. Yeah. But and just to another movie, Hollywood Shuffle. There's a scene in Hollywood Shuffle where the old girl is they had he's at a casting and the two girls are talking and the one girl says, "Girl, the producer told me to meet him at his house at midnight." And she said, "Girl, I was there at 11:59." I mean, it's Hollywood Shuffle was one of the most hilarious movies ever, but it was a parody. It was a parody, but it was that sentiment is out there though. You know what I mean? And it's not about, I don't even know who's the victim and who's not.
Right.
right? So I can't shame a victim because I don't know
Right.
who a victim is,
It's
right? I know
not.
people have these circumstances that they have been caught up in, but I
Right.
don't know what your intentions were at the time. I don't know what Puff's intentions were at the time. I don't know what anybody's intentions were. All I
Right.
know is what I see right now.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not me. I'm not trying to judge anybody on anything. I will tell you what I know, and I will tell you what I think, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
There are 50 states in the United States of America, and I can guarantee you, in each one of those states, at least once or twice a night, a freak off jumps off in one of those states, in towns, in those states, in areas.
Absolutely.
Okay, they're not just freaking off at Puffy's house. There are stories about spots in Atlanta where all types of debauchery goes down in the
Hmm.
greater Georgia area. There's clubs in DC. There's clubs in New York. There are clubs in Los Angeles. This is like, I think what they're trying to get at is they're trying to get at that spike drinks and everything. But come on, in the music business, what isn't spiked? It's
Right.
just like the whole thing is like I just think that America has this issue where we're trying to put these morality questions and put them on the table at a party where everybody's expected, where the women are expected to not wear brassieres to,
Right.
or basically underwear. Men too.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? This is Hollywood. This is what they're doing.
Right. But so some people know that going in though.
Mhm,
Some people don't.
mhm,
So at a certain point, once you figure it out, either you want to play or you don't. Right.
mhm.
Now, could someone have slipped you a Mickey? Absolutely. It could have happened.
Most definitely.
Anything could have happened. But if you are in your right mind and you find out, hey, this is, it's going down in the way that I don't want it to go down around here.
Mhm,
Am I going to stay or am I going? Now,
mhm.
is this my chance? Right? Is this my opportunity to get the deal with Puff? So I want to stay? Or am I saying, nah, I much more value myself than I value this record deal. So if that's how I got to get it, I'm gonna bounce.
Yeah.
Right. So there, you know, it's people.
And it's not just him.
No, 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 no.
It's not just him, and he's just caught up. I mean, I feel like it's inevitable because like just because of the fact that he likes the spotlight, and with everything that's come out about the business with I believe the alcohol story, that the alcohol people are the ones that basically are like, you thought you were getting too big and
Hmm.
everything, so we're gonna put you in your place and everything. That's like, and that's really still his fault because to me, it shows that you're slipping because you're not aware. It's like that situational awareness. That's survival 101. You know, you got to know when the dog in the room has bigger teeth than you.
Yeah, yeah. But if you are that guy that's normally the big dog, do
Yeah.
you ever really know?
No, you
You know what I
don't.
mean?
No, you don't. And that's the thing. It's like honestly, the reason why this is happening to him right now is because he's no longer relevant. He's on, or you know what, or he's on the downturn of his relevancy.
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah, yeah.
know, it's not the '90s anymore. It's not even 2000, the 2000s anymore, and everything. It's 2024, and there's really not a need for a P Diddy right now. They got these trap dudes that are making records and shooting at each other outside of clubs now. They're the new hot thing.
Right.
You know, you make a record, you break one, you go number one, you go to a show, and somebody shoots you. Now
Hmm.
you're famous and everything. That's the new model. They're not building any black men up anymore, and they're not allowing the black men to actually come up. They're coming for Jay-Z next.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
who knows who else? You know, they're too big. So, what do you think it's going to end the state of? You know, I had put up something today with Malcolm X when he was talking about the fact that we are the only people that our entertainers are looked at as being our leaders.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Do you think that in a way this could actually turn into a positive thing for the Black community with these people removed?
I don't. I just think they'll go on to the next. So I don't know that this would be a positive. I I think that I don't know that entertainers are held up as our leaders in as much as they are held up as people to be admired. And that,
Okay.
that kind of, because they quote unquote made it. You know what I mean? Like they beat America. They beat the system. And they did all these things and they won the game.
But did they?
Well, from our vantage point, yes, they did. And that's the thing. Perspective is everything,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Because
So
from Puff's vantage point, it's not looking too good today. Doesn't look
not
like they
today.
won. Right.
But you had for let's say since 1990, he's been on this upward trajectory. So for 34 years, he's been doing it,
Mm.
right? Doing whatever he wanted to do, getting it however he wanted to get it. So
Mm-hmm.
inevitably you have to fall. We love to see somebody rise, but nothing compares to seeing somebody fall.
Well, the thing is, like, usually his white compatriots have been able to at least slide down slowly. You know, Puff has this rope that's been tethered to his waist, and they're pulling him down, they're yanking him down like right away. And this isn't no means, way, shape, or form means to say that he's being treated unfairly and unjustly. We know he's being treated differently. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and a lot of that is probably because of the amount of and the weight of the evidence. To me, it just shows how much he is actually in possession of. They are afraid to let him go because
So I'll say this. I was here in Detroit when Kwame Kilpatrick was the mayor and that whole scandal went down.
Mhm.
Puff and Kwame Kilpatrick have a lot of similarities because and this is strictly from my vantage point, is that the arrogance of those two Black men has been instrumental in their fall. Right? Or and I should say the perceived arrogance. I should say the
Well,
perceived.
Kwame actually came out with a video for him.
And
I
I
don't
can
know if
believe
you
that.
saw it. I
I
don't know if
didn't,
you
but
saw
I
it,
can believe
but I
that.
did. Yeah, he actually did. I actually saw it today. You know, I didn't put it together until you said the name because I know it's like Kwame Kilpatrick. I know that. He went to Howard with us, right?
No, Kwame
No.
went to fam. He went to fam.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But
But
he's a Detroiter. So ironically, my Uncle Ed, who just passed, knows his dad, and they used to play ball together. Right. So I know Kwame kind of peripherally. I don't know him, but when we was younger, I kind of
right,
knew who he was. And then he just kind of blew up to be the mayor and all of that. But
right.
like I said, there's a lot of similarities to the stories. And I'm saying the stories that I've heard in the newspaper, on social media, the stories that I've heard about the both of them are very similar. Murder accusations or covering up murders, and different things with women, and now Puff with men, and I mean, I don't know that there was baby oil in the Manugian when Kwame was living there, but you
Could
know,
be.
could have been,
You never know.
you know.
Just
So
throwing in there.
yeah,
Throwing everything else in there. Might as well throw it in.
right.
You
But
know?
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's you know, and Jay-Z, you know, whatever Jay-Z has done is what he's done. But I believe that it's I don't know that Jay-Z is perceived as being arrogant outside of our community,
Mm,
but I know that Puff and Kwame were perceived as being arrogant outside of the Black community.
mhm.
Jay-Z, I don't know.
Well, that's because they talk that arrogant Black shit.
Right.
And, it's like they don't, people that are Blackophobic, they're like, those are the ones that actually trigger them more than anyone else because it's not really the thuggish ones, it's the intelligent ones. The ones
Exactly.
that are like, the ones that they say are constantly in the kitchen um, mixing up these word salads
Right.
and throwing them out there on the plates of other people's. They
Hmm.
don't, they can't really vibe with that as much. So, Puff's got he's got a hard way to go right now. It's just
Yeah.
basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
they're
if you can't put up 50 million to get yourself out of jail, then you got a problem.
yeah, you got a pretty big problem.
Hmm.
I think I was thinking about the LGBTQ angle, honestly. And it's not really an LGBTQ angle, but what it is it's basically it's I can understand why that community wouldn't want to be associated with this. Hear those letters and this conversation together whatsoever, because that's exactly the type of publicity that they're trying to fight against, which is basically men overpowering men,
Right.
which
Take
is
that, take that,
essentially
take
what
that.
it is. Take that, take that, take that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not something, but it is the type of behavior that we as a society somehow still need to find a way to condemn. Because if it was a woman, we would be all over it. But because
Hmm.
it's a man and everything, you want to talk about not shaming. You know what I'm saying? Let's not shame these cats that went to prison and tried to go to sleep and ended up like, wearing blouses and having to tie their shirts
Hmm.
up. This has happened to them too. That is this it's the same thing, it's the same type of activity. And to excuse that and say it's not a behavior, but it's an act.
Right.
So the act is the behavior. So it's like, and there we go again with these word salads,
But
causing problems.
so if it, and I hear you. I hear you on the LGBTQ uh being associated with this, but just from my way of thinking, this is not an LGBTQ issue. You know what I mean? Like their their community is just their community. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there is no, so the fire department, and this is always my example. If there's 10% gay in America, there's 10% gay on the fire department, right?
Mhm.
If there's a 0.5% of people that are rapists in the country, on the fire department, there's a 0.5% of people that's rapists. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so it's across the board, is what I'm saying. I don't care
Mhm.
what I don't care what fragment of the population you wanna isolate. Whatever the overall numbers are,
Mhm.
that same percentage probably exists in that community. So if there's
Mhm.
0.5% of rapists in the country, yeah, there's probably 0.5% of gay people that are rapists.
You know what the
But
truth is? God, God,
but I'm
take
just
your
saying
time.
that's just the numbers though. It
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with the community at large.
Right. Well, the truth is that people who have an agenda, they don't like to have they don't like conversations like this because what you're talking about is just the simple common sense of it all. It's just the simple mathematics. empirical data that doesn't support any argument. It just
Right.
fucking is. It
Right.
really just is. And, this is the reason why you get vitriol from different places and they try to label it as being one thing or another. It's that's an anti, what you just said is anti-woman. What you just said is anti-man. What you just said is, it's not anti anything. It's the fucking truth. It's as if people believe that by controlling words, we're going to be able to legislate. We're going to be able to legislate and speak human nature out of the human experience.
Right.
I was listening to a brother on TikTok the other day, and I see he's kind of like calmed it down a little bit, but he's very he's very much one of those all men are dogs type of things naturally. And we have to watch the way that we harm, the way that we behave. And I was kind of surprised because he was discussing something that happened with his son, and he was telling a story about his son, and the story was basically about his son, kind of like making a move towards a girl and everything. And he's young. He's like between the ages of like 8 and 10 years old.
Okay.
And and the kid he's doing a good job with his son. First of all, I have to say that because his son did tell him what he did, and he told him where he was wrong and all this other stuff. But the thing is, though, it was really just like they were trying to put all these different labels on it, but really it was just like it's just nature. As a boy, you have a feeling for a girl for the first time in your life, and you may do something stupid like pick her pigtails and
Right.
everything, or it's not meant with any malicious harm, but it's always interpreted that way. And as long as we have that type of lazy thinking and interpreting everything as being like aggressive, of course, if a boy goes and he grabs a girl by the butt cheeks, at 8 years old, well, obviously there's a problem there. Okay, there's a line there. But if it's a little boy and he's just saying, hey, I just think that's just him expressing himself. There's nothing wrong with that. We have to get back to allowing things to happen and occurring naturally. Some of these things correcting themselves naturally. It's not popular, but it really is probably the only way because we have a whole bunch of 29-year-olds that are not prepared for anything.
Right.
And I'm not really talking about the kids. I'm talking about the 29-year-olds that don't know how to deal with adversity, don't know how to deal with conversation, don't know how to adapt. You have this big gap of people who have been in the military who have been told everything. So they learn exactly how to do this. Then you have these other people that can't even fucking follow the directions on the back of a fucking box.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there's I think that there's a misconception, right, that everybody is I'm losing it. I lost it. So the misconception is that everybody is the same, right? And you can treat everybody the same,
right?
But you can't treat everybody the same
because
right, we're not, and it just kind of goes back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago, where my language is based on my history, where I've been, who I know, right?
I actually used that for the show clip. It was like such a good point.
Yeah, but that's where we are though, and parents unfortunately have prepared the road for the child rather than preparing the child for the road. And it hinders the child every time, to the point to where they cannot adapt, they cannot deal with any adversity, they cannot, because the road is already prepared for them. And if that's what you're putting out there, that the road is already prepared, as soon as they hit some adversity, it's going to be a problem.
Well, this is what the education system has taught them. And that kind of brings me to the last thing I wanted to get into before we wrap it up tonight. And it's the disillusion of the Department of Education. For it or against it?
Hell, may as well go and start over.
So when I say, so you're saying against it, but are you saying to like revamp it or get rid of it? Because they want to get rid of the entire department. Department of Education only came into existence in 1970, first of all, for a little bit of context. It used to be states that used to run education. Just to skip right over to a point, like my thought would be, if without the Department of Education, then you're allowing a lot of states to gentrify education, meaning they can put their dollars wherever they want to put them within their neighborhoods, or
Right.
gerrymander, I should say, education. And that's exactly what I feel would happen if you remove the feds from the system completely and totally. But we also know that at the same time, the educations that our kids are getting, K through 12, are essentially useless for
Well,
today's.
even now, they're not equal, though.
No, they're
So,
not.
yeah, Detroit public schools versus, let's say, Grosse Pointe public schools. Grosse Pointe public schools, I'm going to say, are advanced. They're beyond what they have capabilities beyond what Detroit public schools have,
Mhm.
because their tax base is higher, so they get a bigger piece of the pie.
Mhm.
So even if you did dismantle it, would it just be more of the same?
Well, that's based upon what that is based upon the old model of, generally, if you live in a better neighborhood, your kids are supposed to get a better opportunity. And the only way for you to do that is by making sure that these kids in this neighborhood have less of an opportunity. Because all things like considered, I mean, with computers and the internet and what we know about teaching and what we know about education, we could probably provide the same education for every kid in the United States of America like that, if we
Right.
really wanted to. But then that kills off a lot of different things. We have so many jobs in this country that Americans just are not qualified to fill. And that's where we have foreigners coming into the country and taking those jobs and buying those homes and setting down roots. And Americans basically sitting there going, what the F, and going to Trump rallies,
Right.
you know? So it's like it's easy for me to identify, of course, because I'm a black guy. I never really had that job,
Hmm.
so I'm looking at it from the outside in, and I'm seeing the opportunity that this guy had that he said wasn't my privilege, but actually is, that allowed him to have this job for this amount of time. That job being phased out, and the requirements for that now for that salary position is now requires a higher level of education that even you're not getting at your school.
Right.
So,
So, okay. So I have a question. So what happens in terms of a person's aptitude? So let's say that the education was equal across the board.
mhm.
Certain people are going to show aptitudes for certain things. So do you begin to cater it toward what that group of children can do? Or do you just keep everybody on the same level?
Well, that's the whole thought behind homeschooling. When you take your kids out and you find that they have a propensity towards a certain subject, the whole thought process is that you would cultivate that, but as a society, I think what I'm really trying to get at, Grant, I believe, is the fact that when you look at the United States of America, the system that it's made from K through 12, it was made to generate a certain type of individual to come out with high school. One that knew
Right.
how to wake up early in the morning, follow directions, leave, go from place to place to place, station to station, and everything, and be done by after an 8-hour day and
Right.
be able to go home. But that's not the job market of today. It's just not. So, how do you change that system? And they have decided not to change it. I'm like giving people an insight into different things. They're not changing it. What they do is they have people come in from other countries with degrees where they do mathematics better than us.
Hmm.
Um, they do science better than us. They do computing better than us. They
Hmm.
do coding better than us. Everything. They're all better. They're just better prepared. So no matter how much you complain, you're still not going to stop anything from happening because the corporations pay it all. So how do you get people to say that? Like it's almost like what was that movie? Kung Pao or something. Michael Keaton back in the day when he was trying to save the Detroit car plant, the Toyota
Oh,
plant,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. What was the
right?
name of that movie? Yeah. I can't
Right.
remember the name of that movie.
I can't
Was it
remember
Kung
the
Pao?
name. Yes, something like that. But I remember the premise of it was that
Yeah.
the American workers had to show that they were basically still viable. But
Right.
nobody has been trying to show, has been
Gung
really
Ho.
going to bat for the American child and trying to say that, hey, they are worth investing in. What
Right.
do we
Yeah.
hear?
Gung Ho is the
Gung
name of
ho,
that movie.
gung ho. Okay, okay. But nobody's trying to invest in the American child. So it's like it's damn near impossible for anyone to say like reparations or we're going to do something for the black community. Well, they can't even do anything for the whole community on the whole. Motherfuckers don't have a plan. And I think that when people realize that they just don't have a plan and they're voting for nothing, they'll be better off and we can really get something done. But you
But
can't get it done
who's
with the
going to be there to
Nazi.
get it done?
Well, see, that's the thing. Here's my thought process. Like, Kamala keeps asking me for an endorsement and all this other stuff. Send me money, give me an endorsement.
Right.
You know, Look, my husband's not looking. Slip me $40. You know, we're not going to start off like that, Kamala. We don't even know each other. We don't know each other. You're going to get my vote, and that's about it. But after you get my vote, I'm going to work against you. I think that we need a poor people's party in the United States of America. And poor people meaning anyone who is not a rich person. We need to embrace who we are. Mutts. That's the only future for this country. Mutts. Cold
Yeah,
noses.
there's some credence to that. There's
Cold
some credence to it.
noses.
I
Fuzzy
think
hair.
when the many are no longer afraid of the few,
Mm,
that's when it'll change.
yes. And
Because
that's what
people
it,
the poor are many.
yeah. And that's what it really takes. I'm so tired of these arguments I see these people get into on like, the internet. I'm just so tired of it. I'm just tired of it. I'm just bored. I'm bored with it all. I'm bored with the entire experience. Hurry up and grow up or die already. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Wow.
what the fuck, man?
Wow.
Serious. Nah, there's no other choice. It's like I can't take it anymore. There's like they're not adults. They're just very confused. And we did it. We confused them. Congratulations. If you're an architect, congratulations, you did nothing. And I really see where the Bill Gates eugenicist thing is working, but I don't want to get into any conspiracy like rabbit holes tonight and everything. But if you don't take them out in other ways and everything, keeping them stupid is a very good way of mopping off a large number of the population. Because
Yeah,
there's
well,
always that chicken that's going to look up in the air with its mouth open while it's raining.
right. Well, stupid people won't know, right?
That's right. Neither will the chicken. It's ready to
Speaking of
boil.
stupid people, speaking of stupid people, I'm watching these Giants and the Cowboys.
Who's winning?
The Cowboys. It's 17-12.
Uh,
But the point of stupid people, the
mhm.
Giants have got to be one of the dumbest organizations on the planet.
All right, listen. Time out before you finish the statement. Before you finish the statement, I am a diehard Giant fan. I am a top fan in many, many Giant groups online. And I am also a top dissenter in many, many Giants groups online. I want you to clear something for me before you even say this. Have we ever had this conversation about how bad the Giants are, how stupid the Giants are?
I think we may have had it once.
Happened years ago, but not recently.
No, it was recent.
Okay, okay.
And the reason I say what I say is because
I just need you to say that I did not influence whatever you're about to say.
no, not at all. Not
Okay,
at all.
okay, go ahead.
No, this
Go
is
ahead.
100% my thought.
Run,
But
Toby, run.
why would you pay Daniel Jones $40 million a year? What do you think you're gonna get with that? I don't and you know what? I'm gonna say this along the same lines. You know who's coming in that same idiocy is the Patriots. New England Patriots had the third pick this draft. What's been the Patriots' Achilles heel for all of the years that they were a successful franchise? What did they never really have?
What did they never?
A number one receiver.
Wide receiver. Yeah.
A number one receiver. So
Right.
you at the 3 position, and you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr. And instead you take Drake May. Now, let's just look at it like this. The Giants have a sucky quarterback, and they drafted Malik Neighbors. And Malik Neighbors can make that sucky quarterback look okay.
He did last weekend. Weekend.
Absolutely.
Last weekend. But Giants fans, but Giants fans used it to justify your first statement. But go ahead.
Right. And I get it.
Some did.
And I get it. But if you are the Patriots and you got a sucky Jacoby Brissett, but you give him a Marvin Harrison Jr., all of a sudden he don't look so sucky. And then when you get a good quarterback, now he's got weapons. As opposed to a Bryce Young, who is in Carolina. Well, I wasn't a big fan of his anyway, only because he was too short.
I always thought he was too small. I didn't get the Bryce Young hype.
So his history just wasn't on his side, right? In terms of whether he was going to be successful or not. You can always point to a Doug Flutie or a Drew Brees or, even Kyler Murray. But, other than Drew Brees, the success level of all those quarterbacks that are 6 feet tall is not high. Right. So I didn't understand that, but I'm just saying, if you got a sucky quarterback and you got a great wideout, your sucky quarterback can be all right.
Let me just piggyback on that a little bit. Like my whole thing is, like, New York has driven me crazy the past 2 years between losing 2 of my favorite players in 2 disparate sports. Kyrie Irving first with the Nets, and Saquon Barkley with the Giants.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The man never had a blockers. He never had blockers, never had linemen the entire time. Still, he is the reason why the Giants made the playoffs 2 years ago. Not Daniel Jones. He was the one. Daniel
Yeah.
Jones is the guy that's throwing the passes to the number one receiver right now. And the number one receiver is making him look good by reaching over the defender and stealing an
Right.
interception
Right.
for a 30-yard gain. That's a fucking interception that he threw.
Mm-hmm.
That Malik Neighborhoods made him look good. So he's earning his money if only he knows, hey, if I throw the ball to number one, something's going to happen.
Right.
So, but he's think, don't,
Right.
think, don't, think, don't, think. But the whole thing about not signing Saquon, I'll never understand it. For essentially $2 million more per year.
Mm-hmm.
What Nickelback are you fucking jonesing for so much that you can't give his money to Saquon? Because
Right.
we're talking $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking like, 40 million like Daniel Jones. We're talking two.
Mm-hmm.
Two.
And then did they turn around and sign Devin Singletary to the same money that they would have signed that they could have signed Saquon for?
No, I always say the same thing as when watching the games: half the money, half the back. Half the money, half the back. And they were saying last week, they were like, oh, Giants fans were like, oh, Singletary, they tried to throw his stats out there. I watched that game. He sucked the whole fucking game.
Yeah.
He had one run. He had the one run at the end of the game when they tried to stop the clock, when they had to stop the clock. So the defense sold completely out on the blitz. The call was perfect. He ran out for 30-something yards. Otherwise, you look at his stats before that game, before that run, he was shit. He was shit. Half the back, half the money.
He's like 10 for 20 right now. 10 carries, 20 yards, or 13 for 22.
Half the back, half the money.
Yeah, clearly he's not what you wanted.
Half the back, half the money.
Yeah.
They're clowns, and the only thing they did do right was pick Neighbors. And to me that was a no-brainer. I was saying all year, I was like driving people crazy on the boards because like I had a one-track mind. I wanted one guy in the draft this year, bro. You know what that was?
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
No.
Michael Penix.
Oh, yeah, the quarterback.
I wanted Michael Penix. I wanted the Giants. I didn't care what they had to do. I was like, they need to draft Neighbors, and they need to do whatever they have to do to trade up to get to like 10 and pick up Penix when he started to rise again. Because that kid can play. He can play. And what happened and everything? Falcons went and they swooped him up.
Went to Atlanta.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins, they signed Kirk Cousins, and they said, guess what? I see this quarterback right here. I'm going to snatch him up too. That boy can ball. That boy can ball. He's going to be the one. He's going to be the quarterback.
You think so?
Oh,
okay.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
in for it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm here for it.
Oh my gosh. I just don't know what they're going to do with Cousins. That's why I think, honestly, I think that Giant fans need to really be prepared for the possibility that Kirk Cousins could be your quarterback next year.
Wow. That would be interesting.
Yep. He's got 3 years. He signed for 4 years. They may not be able to get a quarterback this year. And, you could pretty much trade him. You trade him for Daniel Jones straight up. And Atlanta loses $20 million in cap space, gets a player that's walking out. That's, to back up Penix, who they're going to really play. And you're good.
All right, we shall see.
That's what I would do.
We shall see.
That's what I would do. And if you're the Giants, I'd still try to call and get Penix. Honestly, that guy, that to me is like, oof, that boy can chuck it. He can chuck it, man. He
Yeah.
really can.
I'll say this. I watched the Hard Knocks with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the sharpest knives in the drawer in the Giants front office.
Nah.
At least not from how that series was cut.
Well, Di has her own idea. About those guys. She doesn't like them. She thinks that they're a little bit. They've got a little bit of phobia going on with their selections and their thought processes, and that might be their issue. And I mean, honestly, they could have. The thing that really killed me about the Saquon situation is that they could have literally at one point they could have had every player that they signed this offseason, and Saquon Barkley.
Right.
And they chose not to.
Well, you know what's there's a lot of conversation that's been going on about how quarterback play is suffering and how scoring is down in the NFL this season in particular. In my mind, the reason that it is because these quarterbacks are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, so the Joe Montanas, the Danny Whites, the Phil Sims, they all had good running games. They all had good tight end play.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally they would throw the ball down the field. 25 times a game they would throw the ball. Now you're throwing the ball 50 times.
They don't play balanced football.
Yeah, but all it is now that you've gotten rid of the running game and everything is concentrated on the passing game, the passing game is easier to defend than the running game.
It is. It's always been easier. That's the reason why why in the 20s and 30s they used to run the football.
Right.
Because it was a lot harder to come up with a passing play or a successful pass play than it is to come up with running plays. They just don't have balanced teams. But if you look at it, like we watched the Super Bowl this year, both of those teams had running games.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those teams had running games. You're not going far without a running game.
Yeah. But somehow that's all the talking heads want to talk about is the quarterbacks. They draft these quarterbacks higher than they should. They draft them earlier than they should. They pay them these exorbitant amounts of money. So if you continue to do that, eventually when you lose the run game, which is a situation that you're in now, because nobody wants to pay a running back. That's why Saquon is in Philly now, because they didn't want to pay him. Mm-hmm. But you willing to pay? How can you be willing to pay Daniel Jones $40 million and you won't pay Saquon 12?
Well, look,
that's crazy.
Philadelphia's 2-1, right?
Right.
They're 2-1. So to me, I only see it as getting better. And they're running an option quarterback. They're running an option essentially with Jalen Hurts throwing the occasional pass. That's really what they're running. It's like it's either him or it's either Barkley. You have to be stupid to not recognize the value of the game. They just don't want to pay those guys. They just don't want to pay them.
But why? That's the question. Why are you so willing to pay quarterbacks and so unwilling to pay running backs?
Well, you see, that's another thing. And I skipped over because I saw a breakdown, and they showed all these quarterbacks for the amount of money that they're making. Joe Burrow, nothing. Who's the guy in Carolina from Clemson?
That's Bryce Young.
No, all right, that's Bryce Young.
Oh, you're talking about Jacksonville.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence.
Nothing. Deshaun Watson, I watched him the other day. $60 million. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nothing. You're not getting your bang for your buck. You're paying these guys $60 million a year to put up 300 yards every Sunday. and you give them every opportunity, supposedly with the rule changes, and these quarterbacks are hard pressed to get 250, 275 a night.
Right.
You know, and they're not running the football. So,
well, that's the thing. The run sets up the pass, not the other way around.
thank you. Everybody knows it. Anyone who knows winning football knows it.
Everybody does, except the analytics.
Except for the analytics.
But I told you, when I hear the word analytics, I know you're talking about gambling.
Yeah.
So
you know what? When you talk about this dude, the Giants having a backfield, 7 million. These guys are making these arguments about him being like, better than Barkley or whatever, or equal to in value to Barkley because of their numbers being like almost the same and stuff like that. I'm like, B, you're talking about a running back who's the exact same age. How is he gonna? It's not gonna work. Anyway, you know what? We're probably well over.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we're way over.
We're way over. From Detroit, Michigan, the city ring king, Mr. Grant Lancaster.
Yes, sir. Here with my dog, Johnny Walker Black.
Yes. Still alive. Got my patch and my IVs. I'm doing shows with IVs, motherfucker.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I'm taking my meds, grabbing my mic, and getting funky with it. Like Bismarck would say.
Right.
Yes. Listen, y'all cats in the music industry, you get your business straightened out, and if you don't get your business straightened out, 50 Cent, your new overlord, pretty soon will be here to kick all y'all in line and shit. Because 50 don't mind snitching, telling, kicking, doing dirty work, anything. He's going up and you're going down. Right. So, Born in Trouble, 10th episode. Good luck with your bail this week, Mr. Combs. We don't hate you, bro.
Not at all.
We don't hate you. You know what I'm saying? Wish you would have made better choices and everything. Recognize that the limelight has a time for feeding the black for all of us. And it seems like your time is up, my brother. Anyway, Born in Trouble, 10th episode. Peace.
Peace.
And the stream is done. And the recording is done.